The darkness tasted like metal and cold ozone. A sharp hum vibrated through the air, buzzing against Daniel Hale's teeth as consciousness surged back into him. He opened his eyes to blinding violet light. His lungs burned with the unfamiliar scent of ionized atmosphere. His wrists stung where glowing restraints held him suspended a few inches above the floor. He was no longer on Earth. He was inside a starship, and two silhouettes stood before him. Tall, elegant, terrifying. Twin alien sisters, nearly identical, with skin like polished obsidian and luminous silver eyes that watched him with a strange mix of fascination and predatory calm. Their hair floated in the air, alive with faint electric currents that shimmered like living starlight. The first one stepped closer. Her voice echoed like a chime struck underwater. Specimen Hale. The archivists were correct. Human neural patterns are unusually volatile. The second tilted her head with clinical intrigue. Yes, he will adapt quickly. That is why he must be our shared eunuch. Daniel swallowed hard, forcing down the rising panic. He had no idea what their word meant, but he understood one thing. He had been taken, and he refused to break. What does that mean? He demanded. The first sister blinked slowly, surprised at his defiance. In our culture, she said, a eunuch is one who holds no authority and no future obligations. Only service, only obedience. The second continued, you will hold knowledge for us. You will carry messages. You will clean the forgotten archives. You will survive where our own kind cannot. Nothing more. Daniel clenched his jaw. That was not happening. He would not be anyone's servant, alien or not. The ship rumbled around him. He felt the engines shift pitch, warping space itself. A cold wave of nausea rolled through his stomach as he realized they were jumping to another star system. He forced himself to breathe, slow and controlled. His father used to say that fear was a doorway. Either you walk through it, or you let it close on you forever. Daniel walked through. You are making a mistake, he said. The sisters' silver eyes flickered. Their expressions shifted from curiosity to mild amusement. A mistake? The first asked. Daniel met her gaze without flinching. Humans do not bend. We break chains. We rewrite rules. We survive everything the universe throws at us. A faint ripple of interest crossed their faces. The second sister stepped closer, studying him as though examining a dangerous weapon. You speak boldly for a creature so fragile. Fragile does not mean weak, Daniel replied. It means adaptable, dangerous, relentless. The first sister's fingertips hovered near his restraints. Sparks danced across her skin, reacting to his human bioelectric field. You truly believe you hold power in this situation. I know I do, he answered. Because you did not kidnap a compliant servant. You kidnapped a human being. The ship lights dimmed as if reacting to the rise of tension. A distant alarm pulsed once, then again. Different colors. Higher urgency. Both sisters turned their heads sharply. Spatial disturbance, the first whispered. Not possible, the second replied. No one should follow us into the Veil Rift. Daniel watched them, eyes narrowing. The fear in their voices was real. Whatever followed them was far more terrifying than any alien twin scientist. The ship shuddered violently. Loose equipment clanged across the metallic floor. Daniel twisted his wrists, feeling the restraints flicker, weakened for a fraction of a second. His heartbeat accelerated. There, a weakness, a chance. Another impact rocked the vessel, this one harder and more violent. A burst of sparks exploded from the ceiling conduits. The twin sisters stumbled. Daniel pulled with every ounce of strength he had. The restraints flickered again. One snapped. White-hot pain rushed through his arm, but he did not stop. He tore free. The twin spun toward him in perfect synchronized fury. How did you break containment? The first hissed. You are not strong enough, the second added. Daniel squared his stance despite the pain. You keep misunderstanding humans, he said. We are not strong because we are built strong. We are strong because the universe never stops trying to kill us, and we never stop fighting back. The hull groaned. A deafening roar echoed from beyond the ship, like reality itself was being shredded. The twins' expressions darkened. He should not be free, the first whispered. He must be contained, the second ordered. Daniel's eyes locked on a fallen piece of equipment, a plasma conduit rod sparking with residual charge. He dove for it. The twins lunged at the same time. The world exploded into motion, light, sound, and raw instinct. The story of humanity, the story they never expected, was only beginning, and Daniel Hale refused to be anyone's eunuch. He would be much more. He would be the reason they feared Earth. He would be the reason humans were never underestimated again. The plasma conduit rod was warm in Daniel's hand, humming with dormant energy that vibrated against his bones. Sparks flickered along its metallic surface like tiny lightning serpents. His pulse hammered in his ears. The twin sisters moved in a perfect mirrored strike, their bodies gliding with predatory grace, their silver eyes burning. Daniel did not think. He reacted. He swung the rod in a wide arc. A crackling burst of blue energy spiraled outward. The shock wave rippled through the air, distorting the violet lights overhead. The first sister twisted aside, her movements so fluid they seemed to ignore gravity. The second caught the full force of the blow. She crashed into a curved console behind her, shattering the transparent hollow glass. Fragments floated in slow motion before melting into motes of light. Daniel staggered back, breath ragged, heart racing. He had landed a hit on an alien inside a starship. A tremor ran through the floor. The ship groaned, its metal skeleton straining. The first sister recovered instantly. Her silver eyes widened, not with rage, but with something sharper. Respect, or curiosity, or the first hint of fear. You should not have the strength to wield that weapon, she said. Daniel gritted his teeth. Humans rarely do what we are supposed to. Another explosion shook the vessel. Red lights blazed through the corridors, pulsing like a heartbeat. Klaxon alarms ripped through the air, vibrating Daniel's ribcage. The second sister pulled herself up from the wreckage, her jaw tight, her movements sharp with agitation. She looked at Daniel with venom. You damaged me. No human has ever. A violent jolt cut her off. The deck plates lurched. The world flipped. Gravity vanished. Daniel floated upward, the plasma rod tumbling from his hand as his stomach flipped with it. Loose cables and fragments of shattered technology weightlessly drifted around him like metallic ghosts. The first sister snapped her fingers. A shimmering gravitational field wrapped around her and her twin, anchoring them to the shifting floor. Daniel drifted helplessly in the zero-G chaos. He reached for anything to stabilize himself, but all he caught was air. The second sister raised her palm, energy swirling within it like a miniature storm. She aimed directly at Daniel's chest. You do not belong unleashed, she said. A beam of white-hot energy lanced toward him, but the ship tilted violently again. Instead of striking his heart, the blast grazed his side. Searing pain erupted across his ribs. His breath ripped out of him. But the new angle of the ship hurled him against a wall, and his hand slammed against a recessed maintenance handle. Daniel grabbed it with his good arm and hauled himself down before the gravity system flickered back on. The floor slammed upward. The return weight hit like a hammer. Daniel collapsed on his knees, coughing, vision blurring. The twins landed gracefully, their alien physiology adjusting instantly. But Daniel did not have time to feel weak. A monstrous roar ripped through the hull again. A deep, cosmic bellow, neither mechanical nor organic. Something outside the ship was tearing through space. The first sister's composure cracked. We must protect the vault, she shouted. The second responded, shielding is already compromised. We must retreat or we will disintegrate. Daniel frowned through the haze of pain. Retreat? Them? Whatever hunted the ship was powerful enough to terrify beings who could bend gravity with their hands. The first sister extended her arm toward Daniel. Human, you will come with us. Your neural pattern may be required. Daniel's vision steadied. No, he said. The second sister snarled. You refuse too much. Daniel forced himself to stand, leaning against the flickering wall panels. You brought me here, he said, but you did not study humanity well enough. His voice strengthened. We do not submit. We do not crawl. And we do not run unless it is to charge right back. Another impact shook the ship. The lighting shattered into strobing shadows. The first sister hissed, urgency in her voice. If you stay, you will die. The rift spawn is already upon us. Rift spawn. The word slithered through Daniel's mind like a living dread. What is that? He demanded. They exchanged quick looks, a rare break in their synchronized unity. A creature born in the Veil Rift, the first said. A being of fractured space-time. The second added. It devours starships. It consumes past, present, future. It hunts by sensing fear and neural chaos. Daniel felt his blood chill. The hull screamed again, metal twisting. But he pushed fear down. He locked into a corner of his mind and stepped forward. If it senses fear, then it will not sense me, Daniel said. I do not fear it. The sisters stared. The first sister stepped closer, silver eyes narrowing. You fear pain. You fear captivity. You fear death. I sense it in your neural field. Daniel held her gaze. I feel fear, he said, but I decide what I do with it. He jabbed a finger toward the ceiling, toward the impossible monster tearing reality outside. And I will not let that thing decide my fate. The ship trembled harder than before. A shrieking sound, like metal grinding against the bones of a dying star, exploded through the chamber. A new rift opened in the ceiling. Purple light bled through it, spiraling in jagged patterns. The second sister's voice shook. It is breaching. The first grabbed her twin's wrist. We must leave. Now! Daniel's gaze flicked toward the console the second sister had crashed into earlier. Its glass was shattered, but the controls still flickered, text, symbols, diagrams, and alien script. He saw an icon flashing red, a shape that resembled a starship schematic, and a blinking dot close to the hull breach. An escape pod. He sprinted toward it. Human! The sisters shouted in unison. The air crackled as they both reached out, threads of gravity forming around their hands. Daniel threw himself across the floor. His palms slammed onto the console. He dragged his fingers across the alien interface. For a breathless second, nothing happened. Then, a holographic map burst outward, swirling with star systems and glimmering routes. Daniel jabbed the blinking icon. The ship responded with a shudder. A section of the wall hissed open, revealing a narrow chamber and a sealed pod. The twin sisters appeared behind him instantly. You do not understand what you face, the first warned. If you flee alone, you will die, said the second. Daniel glared back at them. If I stay here, I die for sure. I choose the path with a chance. They stepped closer. You choose death, one whispered. No, Daniel said. I choose freedom. The ceiling split wide. A monstrous, swirling appendage of translucent space-time wrapped around the room, like the tendril of a cosmic leviathan. The rift spawn arrived. Reality bent around it, warping the appearance of the twins, the room, Daniel's own hands. The ship shrieked. Panels exploded. Light pulsed like the heartbeat of a dying universe. Daniel threw himself backward into the escape pod chamber. The gravitational pull of the rift spawn dragged objects off the floor. The twins fought to anchor themselves. Human, the first sister shouted again. We can save you if... Daniel slammed his fist on the pod's control panel. The door sealed. Their silver eyes widened with shock as the hatch slammed shut. Then Daniel whispered through the thick glass, loud enough for them to hear. Humans, save ourselves. He hit the launch button. The escape pod rocketed forward. The chamber behind him collapsed into a swirling vortex of torn space-time. The alien twins vanished in the blinding light. The pod fired into the void, spinning wildly, alarm screaming. Daniel strapped himself into the seat. His breath came in jagged bursts. Stars blurred past him. The rift spawn's tendrils reached after the pod, but it shot into a debris field of shattered asteroids. Daniel held onto the seat until his knuckles whitened. He lived. He escaped, but he was alone, drifting through unknown space, hunted by cosmic monsters and alien sisters who would not forget him. Daniel Hale was free, but the universe had only begun trying to kill him. Metal screamed. Alarms blared in every frequency Daniel's ears could register, and in a few he could not. A strobe of emergency lights washed the cramped chamber in violent reds. Daniel gripped the seat harness until his fingers throbbed. The pod tumbled end over end, buffeted by gravitational distortions from the monstrous rift spawn still thrashing behind him. Through the small viewport, he saw the creature's tendrils stretching across space like translucent serpents made of shattered galaxies. Its presence distorted the stars themselves, bending light into impossible spirals. And the twin sister's ship, once sleek and elegant, was now a torn silhouette caught in a cosmic storm. Daniel exhaled slowly, letting his heartbeat settle into a steady rhythm. He had survived the first wave. Now he needed to outthink the universe. The pod steadied after a final shuddering roll, its stabilizers engaging with a low mechanical groan. Daniel unbuckled himself and rose on shaking legs. The pod interior was small, barely large enough for one person, with curved walls lined by malfunctioning holoscreens. Dust-like particles floated in the air, shimmering with residual energy. One screen flickered to life, projecting alien text that reorganized itself into shaky English. Automated survival protocol engaged. Navigation system offline. Oxygen reserves moderate. Power 12% and falling. Daniel wiped sweat from his brow. 12%, he muttered. Perfect. Just perfect. He ran his fingers across the console, searching for anything that resembled a distress beacon. Somewhere far behind him, the rift spawn let out another reality-shredding roar. The sound rippled to the pod's metal, like a ghost trying to claw through. Daniel's skin prickled with primal fear. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Panic confused the mind. Control sharpened it. He found a smaller panel below the main console. He pried it open with trembling hands. Inside were power relays, circuit crystals that glowed faintly. He studied them carefully. The twins believed humans were slow, predictable, slight. They failed to learn that humanity built its survival on innovation, improvisation, and impossible problem-solving. Daniel removed 2 relays, snapped them together, and redirected their energy into the beacon module. The lights blinked. The beacon pulsed weakly. A soft hum filled the chamber, a heartbeat in the void. But then a second hum answered, deeper, stronger. Daniel froze. Through the viewport, the rift spawn turned. It felt him. A beacon sends a signal, Daniel whispered, and signals attract attention. The creature folded space between them, closing the distance in impossible strides. Tendrils of warp time lashed outward, hunting. Daniel dove back into the seat, strapped in, and slammed the manual thruster controls. The pod shot forward. A streak of pale light burst behind him as a tendril sliced past. The wake of distorted physics rattled the pod structure. Daniel gripped the controls. The pod zigzagged between drifting asteroids, their jagged surfaces glittering with cosmic frost. The rift spawn's tendrils whipped to the debris, pulverizing stone into stardust. One tendril grazed the pod. The hull screamed. Panels ripped loose in a shower of sparks. Daniel's vision blurred, but he refused to yield. He angled the pod between 2 massive asteroid fragments rotating around each other like titanic gears. The gap between them closed and opened every 8 seconds. The rift spawn slid behind him, reality warping in its wake. Daniel counted the rotations. 1, 2, 3. The gap narrowed like a stone jaw. He exhaled. 4, 5. Come on. 6, 7. He fired the thrusters. 8. The pod streaked between the colossal stones at the exact instant the gap opened. The rift spawn lunged after him, but the stones slammed shut. A shock wave of distorted gravity rippled outward, knocking the creature back. Daniel laughed once, short, breathless, incredulous. "We beat you," he whispered. "Humans always find a way." He checked the screens. Power, 9%. The pod drifted toward a thick band of cosmic dust. The stars dimmed behind a gray haze. A nebula. Electric charges rippled through the clouds like distant storms. The pod entered the nebula, and everything turned murky. The sensors went blind. Good. The rift spawn depended on detection through neural chaos and fear signatures. Inside this cloud, everything became noise. Daniel sagged in the seat, breathing heavily. For the first time since waking on the alien ship, silence began to settle. Then a soft chime rang from the console. Incoming signal. Daniel's eyes widened. Who is out here? The transmission came through as static. Then a voice formed within it, layered and resonant. Earthling, you escaped. Daniel's stomach tightened. The twin sisters. The static cleared more. A second voice overlapped the first, perfectly in sync. You showed combat capacity beyond predictions. You resisted fear. You adapted. He leaned closer to the speaker. You survived? Daniel asked. We survive always, the first said. The second added. And we will reclaim you. The signal cut off. Daniel sank back. They lived. They were hunting him. And they were not the only danger. The nebula around him crackled. Thunder boomed through space, vibrating the pod. Power, 7%. He needed a plan. He checked the pod's limited manual storage. A flare beacon. A compressed oxygen cell. A filament rope made from alien carbon fiber. A data tablet filled with unreadable archivist script. He activated the tablet. Alien glyphs flowed across the screen in elegant arcs. The tablet responded to his biometrics and attempted to reorganize the text. Slowly, painfully, the shapes became English. A title appeared. Encyclopedia of the Veil Rift, Dangers and Species. Daniel scanned quickly. He found what he needed. A diagram of the rift spawn. Its biology. Its behavior. Its weakness. His pulse quickened. It fed on unstable fear signatures. It hunted emotion. It tracked neural chaos. But it had one vulnerability. A narrow band of wavelength emissions that scrambled its sensory organs. The pod had no such device. But the nebula did. Thunder rolled again. Plasma lightning arced through the surrounding clouds, powerful enough to tear apart a cruiser. If he timed the pod's movement right. If he rode the lightning. If he approached the wave front as the nebula discharged. He could blind the rift spawn long enough to escape. Or he could be vaporized instantly. The pod trembled. The external sensors screamed distortions. The rift spawn had found the nebula's edge. Its tendrils pushed the clouds aside like curtains. Its hollow eyes fixed on the pod. Daniel sat upright, spine straight. No more running, he whispered. He angled the pod toward the glowing core of the nebula, the unstable heart where lightning pulses originated. Electric storms erupted around him. Flashes of brilliant white and deep violet carved through the vapor. The rift spawn surged closer. The pod shook violently. Warning lights flared. Power, 5%. Daniel pulled every last ounce of strength into his grip, hands steady as steel. The creature roared, warping space. Its tendrils coiled to strike. The lightning built in the nebula's core, swelling like the breath of a star about to awaken. Daniel whispered to himself, not in fear, but in defiance. Humanity does not fall today. He slammed the throttle. The pod rocketed into the storm. Light engulfed everything. The rift spawn lunged, and a lightning bolt, thick as a skyscraper, speared downward. It struck the pod. Energy overloaded every circuit. The world vanished in a blinding surge. Then, silence, darkness, and unconsciousness clawed Daniel down into its depths. He had no idea if he survived. Daniel hovered in the void of unconsciousness, suspended between life and death. He felt nothing, yet something ancient whispered around him, a low vibration, like a heartbeat echoing from the bones of the universe. Then, a gasp ripped from his throat. His eyes shot open. Light burned above him, soft and blue. Air rushed into his lungs, sharp and metallic. He lay on a solid surface, cold, smooth, unfamiliar. A medical table, alien but intact. He forced himself upright. Every muscle in his body throbbed with the aftershock of the lightning strike. His skin tingled. Warm patches pulsed along his arms as if electricity still lived inside him. He blinked hard, clearing his vision. He was inside a chamber. Large, spherical, walls lined with organic-looking technology. Faintly pulsing veins of bioluminescent light connected glowing nodes around the room. A soft hum rose and fell in rhythmic waves. Daniel slid off the table and staggered to his feet. His boots touched a metallic floor that mirrored shifting colors beneath its surface, like a shallow lake reflecting alien skies. His head pounded. He remembered the lightning, the rift spawn, the explosion of light. He remembered death reaching for him, then everything vanishing. Yet he was alive. "How?" he whispered. A voice answered him from behind. "We pulled you out of the nebula field before your escape pod dissolved entirely." Daniel spun around. Two figures stood at the chamber's arched entrance, both tall, both armored in silver plates etched with shimmering runes, both with the same luminous silver eyes. The twin sisters. But they looked different. Gone were their flowing, ceremonial garments. Gone was their calm, clinical superiority. They were battle-clad now, prepared, wary, and unmistakably shaken. Daniel tensed. "You," he said. The first sister stepped inside, her boots gliding silently. "Yes, us." The second followed, eyes narrowed, scanning him as though expecting a hidden trick. "You survived the storm," she said. "That should be impossible." Daniel wiped dried blood from his lip. "It is only impossible until a human does it." The twins exchanged a glance, not of arrogance, but disbelief. The first approached him cautiously. "Earthling, you must understand. No being enters a lightning core of a living nebula and returns. The energy alone collapses organ function in seconds." Daniel shrugged, rubbing his aching neck. "Humans adapt." The second sister looked at her twin. "He should not exist," she whispered. Daniel stepped closer, eyes locked on them both. "Yet I do." The first cleared her throat and regained her composure. "You are aboard our secondary vessel," she said. "The rift spawn destroyed the primary ship. We escaped moments before its collapse." Daniel studied her expression. Her voice held something strange. Not irritation, not superiority, but gratitude. Before he could ask, the second sister folded her arms. "There is a more pressing matter. The rift spawn still hunts. It followed the energy trail from the nebula. It will not stop." Daniel felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. "So it wants me." "No," the first corrected. "It wants instability. The lightning storm amplified your neural field. You became bright, loud, a flare in the void." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we stop it." Both sisters stared at him. The first shook her head. "You misunderstand. We flee it. Even our largest warships avoid direct conflict." Daniel stepped closer. "No, we end this." The sisters exchanged a silent, rapid communication through a series of subtle eye flashes, an alien biological telepathy he could only guess at. Finally, the first sighed. "We observed you closely during our experiments. Your species lacks the physical strength to." Daniel cut her off. "You are analyzing the wrong thing." They blinked. He continued. "You look at muscle, speed, structure, measured limits. But humans win because we break patterns. We find the weak point. We cheat the impossible." Silence wrapped around the room like a held breath. Then the second sister asked, "And what weak point do you imagine a rift spawn possesses?" Daniel turned toward the wall panel where displays swirled with holographic data, star maps, energy readings, and a rendered model of the rift spawn itself. He traced his finger across the image. "Your encyclopedia mentioned that its sensory organs lock onto neural chaos. Emotion, fear." "Yes," the first said. "That is how it hunts." "And your ship earlier," Daniel continued, "kept adapting to external threats using gravitational command nodes." "Yes." Daniel smiled slowly. "Then we give it what it wants, chaos, and we control the environment around it." The sisters tilted their heads. The second narrowed her eyes. "You propose luring it into a trap. I propose beating the universe at its own game." The first crossed her arms, expression torn between awe and disbelief. "Human, you survived lightning. You escaped our restraints. You navigated the rift. And now you believe you can outmaneuver a creature that devours star systems." Daniel shrugged. "You kidnapped the wrong human." The second paced in a slow circle around him. Her eyes traced his movements, his posture, his heartbeat rhythm echoing faintly in the room sensors. "You are unpredictable," she murmured. The first nodded. "Perhaps that is why the archivist wanted you." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" The sisters hesitated. Then the first spoke softly. "The archivist never intended for you to be a simple servant." The second finished the sentence. "You were meant to be a catalyst." Daniel's breath hitched. A catalyst for what? They did not answer, because in that moment, the lights dimmed, the ship trembled, a deep echo rolled through the hull. The sound was unmistakable, a cosmic howl. The rift spawn had found them. The chamber lights snapped to crimson. Sirens wailed. The first sister moved toward the console. It breached the outer perimeter. The second's voice sharpened. "It bends space toward us. We must evade." Daniel grabbed the plasma rod from the table beside him. He recognized it from the first ship. "No," he said. "We prepare." The twins stared at him. "What are you doing?" asked the first. Daniel stepped forward, gripping the weapon tightly. "I will not run anymore. This thing chased me through a nebula, destroyed your ship, and nearly ripped me out of the universe." He met their eyes with fire. "If humanity is going to survive in this galaxy, we must prove we are not prey." The second opened her mouth, but the ship lurched violently. A tendril of distorted space-time slammed into the hull. Reality wobbled like stretched rubber. Panels burst into sparks. Gravity flickered. Daniel steadied himself. "Show me your armory," he said. "Show me your engine core. Show me your schematics." The sisters hesitated, but only for a heartbeat. Then the first nodded sharply. "Follow us." The second turned and opened the chamber doors with a gesture. The corridor beyond glowed with pulsing emergency lights. The ship groaned as the rift spawn coiled around its outer hull. Daniel stepped into the hallway, weapon in hand. The alien sisters flanked him on both sides. 3 figures. 2 alien twins born of starlight. 1 human forged in defiance. Moving toward a threat older than galaxies. Daniel inhaled deeply. The universe wanted him afraid, but it would learn something new today. Humans do not bow. Humans do not kneel. Humans fight. And Daniel Hale would show the cosmos what that truly meant. The Leviathan hangar rattled like a caged beast as the twin sisters pushed Cade forward, but the air tasted strangely different now. There was charge in it, possibility, and something darker, watching him from the cracks of the colossal ship's ancient ribs. The alarms finally died. Silence replaced them, but it was the bad kind of silence. The kind that suggests the universe is holding its breath. A faint violet shimmer passed through the hangar bay. The twins felt it too. Saris froze. Valira's pupils tightened to slits. The glow crawled over Cade's skin, raising goosebumps like cold needles. "Cade." Valira whispered his name as if it suddenly weighed far more than she expected. "This ship is responding to you." He wished he could pretend. He did not feel the same thing. But the Leviathan pulsed again, and the vibration followed the beats of his heart with unsettling precision. The ancient hum grew stronger. Metal groaned around them, old bones waking from millennia of sleep. The sisters exchanged a sharp look. That look meant trouble. Sarah stepped beside him, voice dangerously soft. "You will tell us how you did this." He laughed. "Because, honestly, what else could he do? I breathe, unless your ship is allergic to humans." She did not enjoy the joke. Alien royalty rarely did. Valira's hand tightened around her spear. "We studied Leviathan relics for a century." None responded. None moved. None even powered a single panel. "Maybe I am just amazing." He shrugged. "Yes, you kidnapped a deluxe model Earthling. Lucky you." This time Saris almost smiled. Almost. Cade counted that as his biggest victory of the day. Then the floor dropped. Not metaphorically. Literally. A seam split open beneath their feet, and a pillar of blinding blue energy shot upward. Cade stumbled back, throwing an arm across his face as heat and wind roared through the bay. The Leviathan had awakened fully. The pillar twisted into a geometric vortex, symbols spinning around it like a star being born backward. Ancient letters floated past them, each character older than the twins' entire species. Valira hissed. "This is impossible. Only a Leviathan key can activate that core." Then maybe, Cade shouted over the cyclone, your ship disagrees with you. The vortex folded in on itself, shrinking into a fist-sized orb that hovered just above the hangar floor. The orb drifted toward him like a curious animal. He backed away. It followed. Saris caught his arm. You must not touch it. If it binds incorrectly, your nervous system will collapse. Comforting speech. Really calming. The orb hovered closer, close enough that warmth touched his face. His fingers trembled. He felt tempted. He hated that. Then the orb whispered, not in words, in emotion, in a surge of fear, sorrow, rage, and a deep, violent longing that scalded his mind. It was alive. Cade's breath hitched. I think it wants something. Valira's voice was shaky for the first time. It wants a host, a pilot, a master. Saris shook her head violently. No, that is forbidden. Humans cannot interface with Leviathan cores. Their brains fracture. Fantastic, Cade muttered. So this glowing death marble is basically volunteering to kill me. He lifted his hands to show compliance, but the orb surged forward and slammed into his chest. His body arched back in agony. Heat poured into him like a star had ignited beneath his ribs. Symbols burned across his vision. His heartbeat synced with a deeper pulse far below the ship's hull. He could see corridors that stretched beyond physics. He could feel gravitational fields twisting like serpents. He could sense the ship's hunger for command. And something else. A cage. A prison built into the heart of the vessel. A presence sleeping inside it. His scream tore out of him like it did not belong to a human throat. The twins caught him before he hit the floor, lowering him gently as the blue light faded. His chest glowed with a faint, intricate pattern. Ashen shock washed over the sisters. Saris whispered, You bonded with a Leviathan core. No mortal species has done this. Cade coughed. You make it sound like a bad idea. Valira knelt. Her voice trembled in awe. You are no longer just our captive. He squinted at her. If this is the part where you still try to turn me into your eunuch, I swear. She cut him off with a sharp gesture. You do not understand. The ship belongs to you now. A thunderous boom echoed through the hangar. The walls shook. Warning lights ignited in violent crimson. Sarah sprang to her feet. We are under attack. Valira's mandibles tightened. 2 Dusker wore dreadnoughts. They must have tracked us. Cade groaned as he sat up. Who are the Duskars? Parasites. Sarah spat the word. They conquer entire star systems, drain them of life, and leave behind husks. So, basically intergalactic termites. She blinked. Termites. Never mind. The hangar's giant door shuddered. Explosions echoed through the hull. Dust rained from the ceiling. Valira turned to him with urgent intensity. Cade, you must command a Leviathan. Only you can activate the shields. He stared at her. At what point did I look like a guy with a user manual for ancient star gods? She grabbed his wrist. You bonded. The ship will obey your intent. Focus. Picture protection. Another explosion slammed into the hull. The floor lurched beneath them. Sarah shouted over the rumbling. If he fails, the Duskars will carve us apart and take him for experimentation. Great incentives, Cade muttered. Survive or get dissected. Love this job. He squeezed his eyes shut, breathed in, reached for the alien pulse burning inside him. The ship's awareness brushed against his mind like warm static. He imagined a shield, a dome, a wall of force between them and annihilation. The Leviathan answered. Blue light erupted across every bulkhead, racing through the ship like lightning veins. A massive shockwave burst outward from the hull. The hangar became a cathedral of roaring energy. Sarah stared with something dangerously close to reverence. Cade, you activated a planetary-class barrier. He opened his eyes and panted. Yeah, but my skull feels like a microwave fruit. Valira helped him stand. You saved us. The Duskars cannot breach that level of defense. A deep, sinister voice crackled over the comms. Cave of Earth. The voice butchered his name like it resented pronunciation. You carry what belongs to us. The twins froze. Saris whispered, They know he bonded. Valira's eyes widened with cold fury. They want the core. Cade stepped toward the speaker panel, exhaustion burning through every nerve. He spoke clearly, voice steady despite the pounding in his head. Come and get it. Silence followed. A stunned, almost insulted silence. Then the Dusker commander laughed. The sound was like bones grinding inside a furnace. Human, your defiance will end with your planet. We will take the core from your corpse. Cade exhaled slowly. Well, at least he is honest. The twins turned toward him. For the first time since his abduction, they were not captors, not adversaries, not strange. Imperia's royalty demanding his submission. They looked at him like a commander. Saris bowed her head. You bonded with a Leviathan, Cade of Earth. You became something the Duskars fear. Valira's voice lowered to a vow. We will stand with you, not above you. He swallowed hard. This is not just about me. They threaten my planet. Saris nodded. Then we will end them before they reach it. The Leviathan hummed again, awaiting its master's next command. Cade placed a hand on the glowing wall. Then let us show these monsters what humans can do. The ship roared to life, and the universe trembled the moment I stepped beneath the shattered archway of the obsidian tunnel. The air thickened around me like a living presence. It pressed against my skin, warm and electric, humming with a pulse that did not belong to any natural force I had ever felt on Earth. The entire cavern glowed with a faint crimson luminance, as if lit from inside the very bones of the planet. My heart pounded against my ribs, not from fear, but from the raw thrill of stepping into the unknown, the type of unknown that destroys ordinary men or forges legends. Behind me, Zyrel and Viola followed silently. Their twin silhouettes stretched across the uneven stone floor, elongated by the pulsing lights embedded within the rock. I could hear their breaths, steady and calm, like two warriors entering a sacred battleground. Ahead of us, a distant rumble rolled through the tunnels. The sound rose and fell like an enormous heartbeat. Viola whispered, her voice trembling with something I had never heard from her before. Reverence. The Leviathan is awake. Zyrel tightened her grip on her staff. We are too close to turn back now. I lifted my chin, refusing the idea of retreat. We will face it. Together. They exchanged a quick look. A look heavy with meanings I still did not fully understand. But there was no hesitation in either of them. We advanced deeper. The walls around us began to ripple with strange glyphs, glowing veins of neon blue and gold. As my hand brushed one accidentally, the cavern vibrated with a sudden burst of energy. A voice thundered inside my skull, immense and ancient. Intruder, claim your purpose. I staggered back, breath stolen from my chest. Zyrel moved beside me instantly. You touched the guardian rune. It will test you now. I forced myself to stand tall, despite the pressure crushing my mind. I will not break. The voice inside my head grew sharper, like the roar of a storm tearing through metal. Human, your mind is fragile. Your existence is insignificant. Why do you walk my domain? I clenched my fists. Every survival instinct screamed inside me, but my voice emerged steady and clear. I walk here because humans do not kneel to fear. I walk because I choose my own path, even if death blocks every step. Silence fell around us. The oppressive mental weight lifted from my thoughts. The rune on the wall shifted from hostile red to pulsing white, as if acknowledging my answer. Viola let out a slow breath. You passed. The rune accepted your resolve. I nodded and continued forward. The tunnel opened suddenly into a vast chamber that stretched as far as my eyes could see. Stalactites hung like jagged black teeth from the ceiling. Pools of shimmering blue liquid filled shallow basins in the ground, swirling with lights that resembled galaxies trapped beneath the surface. At the center of the cavern floated a massive orb, nearly the size of a building, suspended above a platform of floating stone shards. The orb pulsed slowly, every beat releasing waves of energy that made the air vibrate. Viola spoke in a hushed tone. The Leviathan core. Zyrel stepped forward. We must stabilize it before it awakens fully. Otherwise, the entire moon will collapse. The orb suddenly flared. A deep, thunderous growl echoed through the entire cavern. The stone beneath my feet trembled violently. A swirling vortex of shadows erupted from the orb and crashed down upon the platform, forming a colossal serpentine shape made entirely of living darkness. Eyes as bright as a supernova snapped open, locking onto us. The Leviathan had awakened. Its roar tore through the cavern like a hurricane made of pure hatred. Zyrel shouted, "Brace yourself!" The creature lunged forward, slamming its massive head into the rock near us. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground. A fissure opened beneath me. But Viola grabbed my arm, pulling me back before I fell into the abyss. The Leviathan coiled its ethereal body around the chamber pillars, crushing them effortlessly. Shards of black stone rained down like deadly hail. I forced myself to breathe. I needed to think. I needed to find a pattern in its movements, a weakness in its shape. I shouted to the sisters, "Its body expands right before it attacks. That delay is our window." Zyrel's eyes widened. "You see its rhythm?" "Yes." Viola nodded with fierce confidence. "Then we will use it. Guide us." The Leviathan reared back, gathering another wave of crackling shadow energy. I watched its body carefully. The moment the expanding ripple coursed through its torso, I yelled, "Now!" Move left. We darted aside just as a beam of black energy obliterated the ground where we had stood. Zyrel struck the creature with a blast of radiant energy from her staff. The impact made the Leviathan recoil, its form flickering. Viola hurled a spear of violet light that pierced the creature's swirling mass. Its roar shook entire pillars loose from the ceiling. I sprinted toward a row of ancient control pylons carved into the far wall. If the Leviathan core was a stabilizing engine, then these pylons must regulate its power. My fingers danced across the glowing symbols. The alien interface lit up beneath my touch as a surprise that a human could decipher it. "What are you doing?" Zyrel shouted over the deafening noise. "Trying to rewire the core's feedback loop. If I can reverse the energy flow, the Leviathan will lose cohesion." Viola dodged a crushing strike from the Leviathan. "Hurry!" The Leviathan sensed my intention. It let out a furious shriek and lunged toward me, a swirling mass of claws, fangs, and cosmic shadows. Zyrel threw herself in front of me, raising her staff to block the attack. The creature's blow sent her crashing back into a stone pillar. "Zyrel!" Viola shouted. I felt fire ignite inside me. A burning rage I had never felt before. I slammed my fist onto the final rune sequence. The cavern exploded with blinding light. The Leviathan convulsed violently. Its body fractured like breaking glass, shards of shadow splitting apart and dissolving into dust. The roar it emitted was not a scream of power, but one of defeat. The entire cavern trembled. Blue energy spiraled upward into the orb. The Leviathan collapsed into itself, sucked back into the core before vanishing entirely. Silence. Then stillness. Zyrel groaned and pushed herself up from the rubble. Viola ran to her, checking her wounds. I exhaled slowly, feeling the adrenaline fade. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from the weight of what had just happened. Viola turned to me with awe in her luminous eyes. "You broke the Leviathan seal with nothing but logic and courage." Zyrel limped toward me, her expression full of grudging respect. "You are not a eunuch. You are not a servant. You are a force." I shook my head. "I am human, and humans fight." Viola touched my chest gently, her voice soft and full of emotion. "As long as you walk with us, the universe will learn what that truly means." The tremor in her voice told me this was only the beginning. Far above us, the core orb pulsed again. But this time, the light was steady, stable, until it flickered. Once, twice, then cracked. A deep rumble shook the cavern again. Zyrel's eyes widened. "No, it is not over. Something else is awakening." Viola grabbed her staff. "Prepare yourself. This moon holds more than one ancient monster." I stepped forward, heart steady, voice unwavering. "Then we will face the next one." The chamber lights dimmed. A new roar echoed from beneath the ground. The battle inside the celestial convergence chamber ignited with a roar that shook the entire star citadel. Yerrick felt the shock waves ripple through his bones. The ancient machinery surrounding him, ring spires of shimmering alloy, spiraling conduits of living light, and crystalline obelisks humming with primordial power, responded to the chaos with unstable pulses. The twin sisters, Kyra and Vessara, did not retreat. They stood with him, one on his left, one on his right. Their hands reached for the energy wells embedded into the floor, drawing strength from the station as they prepared for the final confrontation with the High Warden, Saraxis. Saraxis towered over all of them. His body was a monstrous blend of flesh and armor, formed from eons of bioforge experiments and infused with stolen ancient knowledge. His eyes burned with merciless hunger. His voice thundered through the chamber with a coldness that froze the blood of lesser beings. "You were meant to be a relic, Earthling," Saraxis growled. "You were meant to serve." Yerrick forced his trembling legs to stabilize beneath him. He tasted blood in his mouth. Sweat dripped down his neck. Yet his gaze remained locked on the cosmic tyrant. He stood straight and unbroken. "I will never be your slave," Yerrick said. "Human beings are not made to kneel. We rise. We fight. We survive." A sudden flare erupted behind Saraxis as he activated the power core embedded into his spine. The air rippled with gravitational distortions. The ground warped beneath their feet. Yerrick felt himself nearly pulled forward by the force, but Kyra gripped his wrist, steadying him with her strength. Her voice reached his mind with calm certainty. "We stand with you." Vessara's eyes glowed brighter than ever. She spoke aloud, her voice resonating like a battle hymn. "And we rise together." Saraxis launched forward. The world turned into motion. A blur of claws, metal energy, and raw annihilation collided with the three of them. Kyra intercepted the first strike, deflecting the High Warden's talon with a shock wave that cracked the floor. Vessara unleashed a blast of directed psionic force that bent the air like a collapsing star. Yerrick leaped through the chaos. His vision sharpened. His muscles blazed with the infusion of celestial core energy lingering within him. He slid under a sweeping strike, sparks bursting as Saraxis' claws scraped the ground. He rose behind the monster, with a punch fueled by everything inside him. It connected. Saraxis staggered. The chamber lights flickered. Yerrick exhaled, steam rising from his skin. For a moment, he felt almost weightless. Not human, not alien, something beyond both. Saraxis turned, furious. "You are only one man," the High Warden roared. "But I am infinite." Yerrick stepped forward through the swirling dust. His heart pounded with thunder. "No," he said. "You are terrified." Saraxis lunged again, faster, stronger. Yerrick caught the blow with both hands. His bones screamed. His arms shook violently. His feet slid back across the ground. But he did not fall. Kyra and Vessara flanked him, pressing their palms to his spine. Energy surged into him. Energy older than galaxies. Energy once stolen by the High Warden. Now reclaimed. Now united. The three of them stood as one force. One defiance. One impossible threat to the tyrant. The chamber roared with the power of three hearts beating with singular resolve. The floor cracked. The conduits glowed. The walls trembled. Yerrick pushed Saraxis back with a scream that tore from the deepest part of the soul. He felt the unshakable fire of humanity burning in his chest. Every struggle of his ancestors. Every triumph of human history. Every step of their climb from the dirt to the stars. All of it lived within him. All of it roared through him now. Saraxis stumbled backward. Kyra launched upward in a spiral of violet light, unleashing a collision strike directly into the monster's chest. Vessara landed behind Saraxis, unleashing a wave of psychic backlash that shattered the armor around his spine. The High Warden bellowed, staggering between the twin sisters. Yerrick sprinted through the smoke, scooping a broken shard of celestial alloy from the ground. He leaped into the air. He saw the universe blur below him. He saw Kyra's eyes widen with hope. He saw Vessara's lips part in breathless anticipation. He descended like a meteor, and he drove the alloy shard into Saraxis' exposed spine. The explosion of energy released from the impact blinded him for a moment. The chamber shook so violently that entire platforms collapsed. Saraxis screamed, a sound like shattering galaxies. The explosion flung Yerrick backward. He hit the ground hard. His lungs emptied. His body screamed. Kyra rushed to him instantly, lifting him into her arms as Vesara shielded them both from falling debris with shimmering barrier. Saraxis writhed on the floor. His armor collapsed piece by piece. His corrupted flesh melted into streams of energy. The tyrant's voice cracked with disbelief. I was eternal. Yerrick forced himself upright, leaning on Kyra's shoulder. Nothing is eternal, he said, breathless. But courage leaves a mark on the universe. Saraxis collapsed. His form dissolved into golden dust. The chamber quieted. The energy flows settled. The convergence station finally rested. Vesara lowered her barrier and stepped toward the center of the room. Her hands trembled as she touched the place where the High Warden vanished. His reign truly ends here, she whispered. Kyra held Yerrick close, examining his wounds with worried eyes. You risked everything again. Yerrick managed a faint smile through the pain. That is what humans do. Kyra's gaze softened with something deeper than admiration, something ancient and tender. Vesara approached them slowly. Her expression mirrored her sister's. Emotion, relief, awed pride. You changed us, Vesara said quietly. Humans are not what the Empire taught us they are. Yerrick exhaled, letting his tired muscles soften against the cold floor. You changed me too, he whispered. They helped him stand. The celestial convergence chamber opened around them, revealing a breathtaking view of space. Stars stretched across the void in rivers of shimmering silver. Nebulae blossomed in colossal storms of blue and crimson. Fragments of the convergence station rotated in graceful arcs, illuminated by a distant pulsar. Kyra's voice trembled with awe. Oh, this is free now. Vesara looked at Yerrick. You freed us. Yerrick shook his head. We freed each other. A deep silence followed, a silence filled with understanding. The war was not fully over. The Empire still waited beyond the midpoint of the galaxy. The ancient powers still whispered from forgotten corners of the cosmos. Other tyrants would rise. Other horrors would challenge them. But this moment, this victory, belonged to them. Kyra stepped closer, placing a hand on Jarrick's chest. You no longer belong to any throne. Vesara touched his shoulder. You walk your own path. Yerrick felt tears sting the edges of his eyes. He spoke with steady truth. My path is forward. They nodded. Their eyes glowed softly, not with domination, not with ownership, but with shared destiny. The chamber lights dimmed. The pulsar outside surged with radiant brilliance. Yerrick felt the hum of the station settle into a harmonious rhythm. A new era began in that moment. An era shaped by a human who refused to break. An era shaped by two alien sisters who found courage in his defiance. Yerrick stepped toward the open view of the stars. The twin sisters followed beside him. The universe stretched endlessly before them. A dangerous place. A magnificent place. A place where humanity would rise. Yerrick inhaled deeply and exhaled with resolve. We go forward, he whispered, into whatever comes next. Kyra smiled. Vesara mirrored her. And together they walked into the future. Unbroken. Unbound. Ready